Okay, so for today's lesson, we are still going to be talking about the sum and difference formulas. So we're still in section 5.4. Just doing some more sum and difference. So still make sure you have your summary sheet out that we filled out yesterday that has all those sum and difference formulas on it. Because again, you do not have to have those memorized. You will be given those formulas for the test. So today, if we look at example 1, we want to find the exact value of cosine of u minus v, given that sine of u equals 5/13, and cosine of v, cosine, there are two different angles, equals -3/5, and we know that these are both in quadrant 2. So if you remember a couple units ago, when we had problems like this, we would sketch triangles, and that's going to be the same exact thing that we do here. So for our angle u, we know that it's in quadrant 2, so we're going to sketch a triangle in quadrant 2. The angle in the center there is always our angle in question, so angle u. And then we're told that the sine of u is 5/13. Remember, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So our opposite side from u is 5, our hypotenuse is 13, and then we can use our Pythagorean theorem to find this missing side. So remember, Pythagorean theorem is always the legs squared being added together, so we'll have 5 squared plus whatever our missing leg is, b squared, equals the hypotenuse squared. So we'll have 25, oops, weird looking 5. 25 plus b squared equals 169. Then we just solve for b, so we minus 25 from both sides. And we do the square root. Square root of 144 is 12. But if we look at where this side is in our triangle, right, it's on quadrant 2, so that side would be negative x value, so we'll need a negative 12. So that's why it's important to know what quadrant your triangle is in. And then we do the same thing for our angle v. We know it's in quadrant 2. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the negative hypotenuses, hypoteni, they're always positive. So this negative is going to go with our adjacent side here. So -3, 5 for the hypotenuse. To find our missing side, we use our Pythagorean theorem. So we'll have -3 in parentheses squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. So 9 plus b squared equals 25. Solve for b. If we subtract 9 from both sides, we get b squared equals 16. So b equals 4 if we do the square root. And our opposite side here is the vertical side of this triangle in quadrant 2. That's going to be a positive y value, so positive 4 for that side. So now that we have our triangles drawn, now we get to use our formulas. So our cosine of u minus v is what we were doing. Right, that's originally what we were asked all the way up here. So looking at our sheet, the cosine of u minus v is equal to cosine of u times cosine of v, and then plus sine of u sine of v. And so now, before we were getting our sine and cosine values from the unit circle. Instead of getting them from there, for these types of problems, we're just going to get our sines and cosines from our triangles that we drew. So our first triangle is u, so anything with u we're going to get from that triangle. Our second triangle is v, so anything with v we're going to get from that triangle. So cosine of u, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that'll be 12 over 13 times cosine of v. So v cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so negative 3 over 5. And then we have our plus. Sine of u is opposite over hypotenuse, so 5 over 13. And then sine of v, opposite over hypotenuse, 4 over 5. So now we're just simplifying. So we have two fractions that are being multiplied on each side of the plus here. So we multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators. So negative 12 times negative 3 is 36, positive 36. And then our denominators, 13 times 5 would be 65. And then we have a plus. 5 times 4 is 20. 13 times 5 is 65. They already have common denominators, so we can just add those two fractions together to get our final answer, 56 over 65. And that would be it. Alright, let's do one more example, but with a tangent. So example 2, we want to again find the exact value of tangent u plus v given sine of u is negative 8 over 17. Cosine of v is negative 4 over 5. And both of these angles are in quadrant 3. So we sketch our triangle, so we'll do u first. It's in quadrant 3. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that negative is going to be on the side, the vertical side, because our hypotenuse is always positive, so negative 8 over 17. We can use our Pythagorean theorem to find our missing side. Negative 8 squared plus b squared equals 17 squared. Gives us 64 plus b squared equals 289. And when we subtract 64 from both sides and take the square root, we get 15. That side is the horizontal side in quadrant 3. That's negative x value, so it'll be a negative 15. So u's all done. Now we do v. Still in quadrant 3. They're not always going to be in the same quadrant. They just happen to be for these two examples, but they'll always be told what quadrant these triangles are going to be in. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so negative 4 for the horizontal side, 5 for the hypotenuse, and again, we use our lovely Pythagorean theorem to find our missing side. So we'll have 16 plus b squared equals 25, and when we subtract 16 from both sides and solve for b, we get b equals 3, but on the side of the triangle it is, that'd be negative, a negative y, so it would be a negative 3. So you just got to make sure your signs are matching with the quadrant that you're in. Okay, so now to actually go back to the question we were being asked. So we have tangent of u plus v. So again, get your formula sheet out. Tangent of u plus v is equal to tangent of u plus tangent of v all over 1 minus tangent of u times tangent of v. So again, we're just going to get our tangent values from our triangles. So tangent of u, so we look at our u triangle. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so negative 8 over negative 15 would be a positive 8 over 15. Because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Plus tangent of V, tangent again is opposite over adjacent, so -3 over -4. Negative divided by a negative is a positive, so we'll have a positive 3 over 4. And then all over 1 minus, then we have those two values already. Tangent of U is the 8 over 15, and times tangent of V, which is 3 over 4. So now comes the fun part, just the algebra part, where we need to find common denominators, add these things together. We just need to simplify this lovely double-decker fraction situation we have going on. So focusing just on the numerator, we have 8 over 15 plus 3 over 4. We can find a common denominator of 60. So we can multiply our first fraction by 4 in the numerator and denominator, our second fraction by 15 in the numerator and denominator, and we'll get 32 over 60 plus 45 over 60. So we'll have 32 plus 45 gives us 77 over 60 for our numerator. Now we need to look at our denominator. So divided by 1 minus, these two fractions are being multiplied, so we multiply the numerators. 8 times 3 is 24. Multiply the denominators. 15 times 4 is 60. We need a common denominator here, so we can multiply by 60 in the numerator and denominator. So I'm going to scooch down here. So we'll have our 77 over 60 in the numerator, all over 60 minus 24 is 36 over 60. Dividing fractions, same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So we'll have 77 over 60 times, and then we flip it, get the reciprocal of the denominator fraction. 60 over 36. 60 in the top times and are being multiplied. The 60 in the denominator is being multiplied, so we can cancel those out. And we're left with 77 over 36, and that would be our final answer. Okay, so nothing really too new here. We have done this thing where we sketch our triangles and the quadrants before. We've done that. We've done the sum and difference formulas before, so now we're just putting those two together. So again, the only difference is you're going to get your trig values, your sines and cosines and tangents from the triangles that we sketch instead of from the unit circle. All right, so our homework today is going to be page 384, numbers 35 through 41 odd. So it's not too many problems, so please, please, please make sure we get these done. And if you didn't finish the homework from last night, maybe you could get that done as well if you have extra time. And that is it for today.